Kia ora folks, welcome to the fucking woo woo podcast. My name's Tommy, a father, a therapist, a medicine person, a musician, and this podcast is about some of the struggles I navigate with, I navigate with, I experience during life, and how I navigate them. Today I thought I would do one, kind of like a wrap-up one. Well, that's fucking wishful thinking, but obviously I've talked a lot about how I'm going through a breakup, and I've had a lot of insomnia and anxiety, and my beloved, this amazing partner of mine who I separated from 4 months ago, is leaving today. Today she leaves indefinitely to go overseas. She might be back in a year, she might not be back for 10 years, and I'm not going to see her today. I didn't see her last night, and yeah, I might never see her again. But our intention is to stay close as friends. So if she ever returns to Aotearoa, I will likely see her again. But something inside of me has that feeling of, this is it. This is the end of this chapter. Now, it would be very wishful thinking to imagine that this is the end of my chapter of grief, and once she gets on that plane, all of a sudden a calm is going to come over me, and my broken heart is going to be healed. But there is something about the end of a chapter feeling to all this. My grief and anxiety have certainly heightened in these last couple of days, knowing that she's leaving today. Anxiety has been through the fucking roof. I did a podcast yesterday and I got 8 minutes into it and then cancelled it, and then the one that I did complete, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to send. It was the one about loneliness. If you've seen one about loneliness, then you know I obviously decided it was good enough. But as I was doing it, my anxiety was so full on, and I'm not sure I was present enough, and I'm not sure if I'll be actually put that one on the or not. Anyway, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some of my journey of this, because everyone's breakups are different, and I want to say that there is a horror. I can't think of a better word. There is a horror to a breakup. Why I say horror? Because what I experienced at times was a longing for that connection back, like an absolute I just want to have my person back, and in those moments, at times I would practice distress tolerance. At times I would practice this thing I've been talking to you guys about, like being the source of my own approval, being the source of my own validation, my own steadfastness. At times I would practice that, and I would be strong, and I wouldn't reach out to her. And I would give myself beautiful validation and send myself love. And even though certain parts of me would be saying, that's all very good and well, but the real love I want isn't from you, Tom. Like you can keep being nice to me, but what I really want is to hang out with her. So sometimes I would practice that, and sometimes I would say, hey, look, I'm a human. I'm a very vulnerable, sensitive human. Some of you guys watching this podcast might have noticed I'm a little bit emotional. Like I get a little sentimental up in this motherfucker, right? Like I got some feelings. I'm not unapologetically. Look, one of the beautiful things about being raised primarily by women, or by the wonderful woman who I was raised by, my mother and some of her friends, was that I learned from a young age that vulnerability is a strength. It's not something. Well, it's not even something I learned. Like that, learning something's like you have to at some point be told that. Like that's something that came through as natural. Like that's just like, for me, that's one of those kind of like untested assumptions. Like that's just the way it is. Like I never was like shown like through some parable that vulnerability is strength. Like I could just see it everywhere. Like that's just obvious. To be vulnerable in front of others requires strength. According to that theory, I clearly think I'm a fucking superhero up in this bitch, because pretty much this whole podcast is just me being vulnerable in front of you all. Look, it's just the way I experience reality, So obviously I've allowed myself to be incredibly vulnerable during this period. And sometimes I've let myself reach out to my partner in those states of vulnerability, you know? And this is, I think, where I've experienced this horror, which is that during those times, I have experienced her as being um, open, friendly, warm, but she fell out of love with me way faster than I fell out of love with her. And she also got over her grief and sadness at lightning speed. She's actually kind of unique when it comes to emotions, this ex of mine. She's actually like she said when we got together, I really only have one state, which is like cruisy or fine or happy or cool. Like I just have this default state, and I don't really, it doesn't go up or down all that much. Now that changed over the course of our relationship. She probably my emotionality is probably a little contagious. She got a little bit more familiar with different emotional states, and experienced some highs and lows. Um, but she really she like she said to me, for example, right, in the first in like we fell pretty deep pretty fast, and our desire for each other was crazy. And she would say to me, look, I'm just not that emotional, Tommy. Like I love hanging out with you, but I just don't get excited about it. And I could tell she felt really similarly to me. I mean, it could have been a projection, but it doesn't seem like it was. You know, we had this beautiful 2.5 year relationship, again with ups and downs, but it was an amazing time together. Like she was in love with me. She was into me, as similarly to how in love with her I was. You know, um, and yet she would say like I love spending time with you. I just don't get that excited about it. Like I love spending time with you, but I love being at work. And I remember thinking, what? For me, being at work is not even vaguely. And by the way, I wasn't a therapist back then. I was working. I've always I had these kind of management roles for the last 10 years before I went into private practice. I remember thinking, it doesn't even fucking come close to me being at work or hanging out with you. You know what I mean? So when she makes up a decision, well, like when we decided together we're going to separate. Her emotional processing of that didn't take that long. So while I still am, navigating it and processing it and having waves of grief and stuff, like after a few weeks, she was pretty stable and pretty cool, and just like she'd moved on. And so I would send her these very sentimental, beautiful, romantic messages. Not asking her to get back together or anything like that. Just talking about, how much I value her, how much I appreciate her, etc., etc. And she would reply with these, as I say, warm, but not very emotionally connected, not very related to it. And in those moments, my heart would sink and this anxiety would come up, and I'd be like, "Fuck, she's gone. She is gone. She's not pushing me away." Like, just be clear. We're not talking about bad treatment here. We're not talking about like curt civil responses. Like nice responses, but she doesn't see me the way she used to see me. Like, I think one of the most beautiful things about falling in love with someone is you feel, for me at least, I feel completely seen by someone who I see. Like I get them. I see the foibles. I see the whole thing. Their little character traits that might get annoying in 10 years. I see the whole thing. I see them and I just adore them. Like, I'm just saying yes to their being, and they see me, right? Because I'm not hiding shit. They see me for who I truly am, and they accept me. And this being seen by someone who you just fucking adore, who you just want to devour, who you literally want to pull your fucking ribs apart to just let them into your heart, you know what I mean? Like, for someone that and then you ascribe that kind of status to them, like, this is one of the world's most significant, amazing people, and they have chosen me. Like, you feel humbled and honored and fucking, empowered and invigorated. It's just fucking ecstasy, right? Like, it's the most beautiful feeling, you know? And you feel this calmness around it. It's not all lofty highs. It's not all ethereal. It's like, it's grounding. Like, you feel still and peaceful and beautiful. It's so fucking wonderful. And then this feeling slipping away from me, we separate on beautiful terms, you know what I mean? With respect and with care. No one's projecting, no one's blaming. I mean, look, probably humans are always projecting to some degree, but minimally, minimally and respectfully. But this claustrophobic fucking longing, folks, this claustrophobic longing, I can't get them back. She's moved on, I can't get her back. I haven't changed my mind in these last 4 months. I haven't decided I do want her back. I mean, okay, in certain moments I might have, but I've never reached out saying, let's get back together. And at times it was so hard, maybe their thought crossed my mind. I'd be lying if I said the thought hadn't crossed my mind. But that was probably just wanting an absence of pain. I probably have been pretty consistently clear with myself and with anyone I speak to that the relationship ended for the right reasons. And I accept that fully. But I think what I didn't realize I was going to lose, or I naively thought maybe I might keep, is that feeling of being seen in that same way by her. Maybe even naively I thought I'd feel that feeling of being cared for by her. And we both say we want to be friends forever and we'll always be there for each other. But that's not the same as feeling on a day-to-day basis, on an interaction by interaction basis, that she cares for me in that same way, you know. And it's not, that's not her obligation, right? Like it's not, that's not what's needed. That's not how she feels anymore. Like, she is no longer in love with me. And she doesn't see me the same, and she doesn't talk to me the same, and she doesn't look at me the same, and she doesn't reply to my messages the same. And there's something inside of me, and I don't know if you guys relate to this or not, but there's something inside of me that's just like, oh no. Oh no, it's like, it's horrifying. It's like death. It's like the horror of death. It's endless. It's claustrophobic. I can't get out of this reality. Like, this, it's hard. Something inside of me stirs up and is like, oh no, something's gone wrong. Something's gone wrong with space-time. This isn't how it was meant to be. And this is endless. I never get this back. And there's a horror. There's a horror to it, guys. I know this isn't a very funny one. Why am I sharing just how hard this is? Because I don't want this podcast just to be about me talking jovially. Is it jovially or jovially? I've got no idea. I don't want this podcast just to be me talking about these concepts from, like, I've already processed it, and you know, here's my thoughts on XYZ. It's like, I'm in the middle of this shit, you know, and that's what this podcast's about. And I just wanted to state this. I just want to name it, you know, maybe one last time. Who the fuck am I kidding? One last time. I think this theme's going to arise from time to time. Hey, one thing that's interesting that I've tried and I thought might be helpful, that I thought I would share. One specific thing, other than the fucking every episode basically being about this and the tools I've used. So early on, when my broken heart would just be fucking pounding, there's different things you can do, right? Like, intellectually, in terms of how you look back on the relationship. You can focus on all the reasons why you needed to separate. And that's useful, right? Because when you do that, you justify to yourself, hey, yeah, this hurts, but it's for a good reason. Because remember, this wasn't working and that wasn't working. And this person doesn't have these qualities or those qualities. And a couple of times I would do that. But if I'm honest with you, over these last 4 months, I really steered myself away from that. Like, I made a conscious decision to stay positive. And some of my friends thought that was probably, you know, maybe dragging out the process more. Like, was I idolizing her and therefore making the grief worse? But I don't think that's what I did, because I think the rose-colored glasses, or the idolizing of her, naturally stripped away, and I could see how there were certain things I hadn't been able to see until, you know, a month after the relationship ended, 2 months after the relationship ended. But that was very different to going, she did this, or she said that, or she let me down. Like, I didn't buy into that shit, or undervaluing the relationship. And part of that also might have been self-preservation, because I was desperate. Like, to me, the thought that she might do that, that she might rewrite history, devalue the relationship, and see me as less than how she had experienced. But like, I wanted to honor how much I loved her, and I wanted to honor how incredible that relationship was. And even in my grief. And also because I guess I'm a bit of a deep diver, and I didn't want to ameliorate my grief or reduce my grief by telling some story about, oh, well, the relationship wasn't that great in the first place. She wasn't that amazing in the first place, so I've got nothing to be sad about. Like, that felt really dishonoring of the relationship and really disingenuous. So I did the opposite. Not the opposite, but I decided to be as honest as I could. And what I would do, this is the technique, is when a memory would come in of her, of something that was so beautiful or so wonderful, or a time we shared that I loved so much, or just the feeling, just the general feeling I had for so much of that relationship, the wonderful, beautiful feeling that so much that relationship gave me. Instead of pushing that away and saying, oh, fuck, that hurts, or instead of going, oh, wasn't that good anyway because X, Y, and Z, I would just sit with it. I would go, oh, that was so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for it, you know? No, I wouldn't sit with it. I wouldn't necessarily, like, I wouldn't sit with it for hours. I might sit with it for half a minute. Like, I wouldn't sit there just basking in how gorgeous and beautiful the whole thing was. I would just let myself feel it and go, that was such a beautiful time. Thank you. I'm so grateful for that time. You know? I would keep it positive. Positive doesn't mean the absence of sadness. Positive doesn't mean the absence of fear. Positivity is an emotion. Negativity and positivity, they're not emotions. They're kind of like, I don't need to explain. You guys know what the fuck they are. They're not emotions though, right? You can be sad and you can go positive in your mind, or you can go negative in your mind. You can be feeling happy and you can go positive in your mind, or you can go negative in your mind. You know what I mean? Positive and negative might have an influence on what emotions are more and less likely to come into your mind, into your heart, but they themselves are more like a mindset or an attitude, I guess, you know. And I decided to stay positive. Now, the other thing that I did is, and I'll probably talk about this in another podcast, so forgive me if well, I haven't talked about it yet, so it's not repetition yet. So one of the ways I conceptualize processing things is, I talk a lot with my clients about, you can see things from a content level, all the bits and pieces that make up the story, all the details, or a process level. And I'm always encouraging my clients to, like, when they need to feel things, the details and the content really provokes emotion. And if they're in a place in their journey, or a place in their learning, or a place in this lesson or whatever, where they just need to feel and have those feelings, then probably just staying in the content and the details is helpful, because that'll provoke the shit out of your emotions. But once you've kind of cried about it a lot and you've felt about it a lot, it's quite good to elevate yourself up into the process level. So what I mean by that is, so I've already explained it, but at the risk of mansplaining, the content level is the details. The details, what's an example? Fuck, I'm trying to think of an abstract example. Me and my wife go out, when me and my wife says she wants to do something, and then I say to her, oh, what should we do? And she says that I have to come up with the answer. She said to me, she wants to go out for dinner, la 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 la. So that's the details. She said this, then I said this, then she said this. That's the details. The process is what's going on at a process level. At a process level, my wife is asking me to connect. And she's also asking me to take some responsibility for it, for me to take initiative. That's what's happening at a process level. You get into he said, she said, it's all like, but I said this and you said this word and la la la, and what you said was that, and I thought you meant this, and it's all fucking like, it gets sticky. But the process level is, my wife asked me to spend time together, and then asked me to take responsibility for creating that experience. And you could take it to a higher process level. My wife wants connection, and she wants me to, my wife wants connection, and she wants me to demonstrate that I want that too, you know? And the higher we go, we start asking different questions, because it's down here. So why the fuck did you say that? And why did you say it that way? Well, I obviously you thought I would have meant this, but you take it up to here and it's like, My wife wants to connect with me and she wants me to take initiative. Do I not take much initiative? Why does she need to feel that I'm taking initiative or that I'm the one choosing it? And then you take it up higher and it's like, my wife wants to connect me and she wants to demonstrate it. And you go, does she not feel like I demonstrated enough? Do I not demonstrate it enough? How can I demonstrate it more? By going to the process level, the questions you ask, I think they're more interesting. I think they're more important, and I think they're more fundamental. So a lot of this breakup for me, and I know I've spoken about this at length already, but a lot of the times I'm out on these walks, or I'm sitting with myself, or I'm meditating, or talking about it with friends, I'm actually not talking about my ex. I'm talking about having a broken heart. I'm talking about missing someone, but I'm often not talking about her at all. I'm often talking about the process, and often the process goes far beyond just the process of the relationship dynamics. The process is about what is being triggered in me. So like I've told you before, I'm using this relationship breakup to focus on a whole bunch of wounding from my childhood, a whole bunch of wounding from my life, and a whole bunch of issues that I have that completely predate this relationship. Like, I had this fucking fairly desperate need for validation and for approval, and I had it my whole life, you know. So if I make it all about this wonderful woman who came into my life, it's not really true. It's not really honest. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I'm missing her. Yes, I'm missing her as an individual, her unique traits. Because we always want to make it about the content. By the way, guys, we don't want it to be about the process. We want it to be about this one person. You know, either out of anger because this person fucked me over, or out of love because this person. It's her unique traits. It's her profound spirit. It's her incredible, irrepressible fucking vivaciousness and her intelligence and her wit and her humor and her kookiness. Like, it's all about her and her beautiful traits. And look, it always is a little bit, right? Or a lot. Those things are all true and those things are all beautiful to celebrate. But, I'm 44 years old, guys. My fucking need for validation and approval predates me meeting this woman by fucking 41 years. My missing her it's a lot of it's about her, and a lot of it's about the fact that, I've gotten into romantic relationships with these parts of me unhealed, with these longings unsatiated, with my own inner resources not being enough to make myself steadfast. And if I keep doing that, there's going to be projections again. This thing I do of idolizing my partners is going to creep in again. And it's funny, right? Because part of me thinks, like some quite young part of me thinks, they're lucky I'm idolizing them. That's nice for them. That's me seeing them even more amazing than they really are. But here's the deal, folks. Being idolized fucking sucks. Because it means the person who's loving you and adoring you isn't loving and adoring you for who you are. They're loving you and adoring you for this fucking projection they're putting onto you. And they're not really seeing you. Being love bombed, the experience of being love bombed, that's really fucking nice. That's really fucking nice. And at the time that we're love bombing someone, just a little word around this shit. People talk about love bombing and then they go, oh, they're a narcissist. No. Everyone, if you fall in love with someone, you love bomb them. And it's not some malicious, vicious thing that you're doing, some manipulative, premeditated, you just feel your love wants to explode with love and you express it and they receive it and they give it back. You're love bombing each other. It's not, people think about love bombing, oh, that's the tool of a narcissist. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what narcissists do. But to be honest with you, I think even narcissists, and I think we'd use a term probably a little bit too much these days, and I'm sure most of you will agree, even someone who could meet criteria for narcissism, even they would experience their love bombing as completely genuine or inauthentic. They wouldn't think that they are premeditatively manipulating someone into a state of dependency. They would feel these feelings the way the rest of us do, and they would just be expressing them. I think you can ascribe agency and premeditation and manipulation and gaslighting. To be honest with you guys, I think 90% of gaslighting, if not 99%, is completely unintentional. I don't think the person gaslighting the other person thinks that they're trying to brainwash them with a false narrative. I think their experience while they're doing the gaslighting is they're just telling the truth from their perspective. Obviously, that's not true when it comes to directly lying about affairs and stuff like that. So let me pull it back from 99%. That's not like some gaslighting people are actually lying. But I think a lot of gaslighting takes place. The other person isn't lying. They're just telling you their perspective. I mean, me and my ex gaslit each other, in a sense, in that I would tell her what I think's going on in reality. And I would say, if we had an argument or a disagreement, I'd say, well, this is what happened. And she could say, well, you're gaslighting me because that's not what happened. But I think that is what happened. Like, that's how I remember it. And she's like, but remember you actually said such and such, you did such and such. And I've got a terrible memory, and I'm like, as soon as she says it, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I did. It's hard in those moments, though, because your ego kicks in and you're like, if I admit that she's right about this point, she might jump on that and make me, and say that she was right about every point. But I'm only, look, I've learned, guys, if even in mid-argument, if someone says something and they're right, I'll go, okay, okay, yep. Now that you say it, you are right about that. Fuck, I'm sorry. And because you're right about that, I can see how you then, okay, I'm sorry about that. I still feel like I've got a right to be hurt right now, but the ground on which I'm standing is getting shaky, and I do apologize. And maybe as I'm talking and as the moments are passing, my outrage is decreasing, and I am seeing more and more how you could have thought that, and I'm sorry. But I still feel like I'm alright to be, You got to admit the truth, guys. You got to admit the truth. If someone says something in the middle of an argument and you're like, oh, fuck, if I, shit, I agree with that. But if I admit that, I'm going to lose some ground. Just lose the ground. Because if we're not willing to lose the ground, what the fuck are we fighting for? Right? If you're in a relationship, you should be fighting to stay connected. The truth matters, for sure. I'm not saying compromise your truth, The truth fucking matters, but, being right? If being right matters, instead of being honest, instead of being kind, instead of being vulnerable, you really have to consider what is it that you value about being in a relationship if you care more about being right. I say that with a certain heaviness. I think people are going to think that was a significant dynamic in the relationship I've just left. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. We were miraculously lucky with how little conflict we experienced in terms of... Fuck, I got a sore shoulder, man. I've had a sore shoulder for about 3 months. People might say you should stop going to the gym, but if I stop going to the gym, I don't know what the fuck would happen to my mental health. I'm trying to do a little bit less on the right-hand side, but there's only certain things that hurt it. Anyway, sorry, I forgot. So they're idolizing. Don't idolize people. No one likes to be fucking idolized. It's just putting them on a fucking pedestal that you're going to smash them off at some point. Now, I think I do some idolizing and some projecting. I think it's a bit more nuanced. I don't know that I ever smashed. I don't know there ever came a time where my ex got smashed off her pedestal. But I'm pretty sure that didn't happen, actually, luckily. I don't know if I got smashed off a pedestal at some time. But what I was trying to say is, you have this connection, and it means the world to you both. And even when things end well, and my relationship ended as well as you could ever hope for, there comes key moments where you realize that something's changed, and it's never going to change back. And in those moments, the feeling of loss, I think loss, that sense of permanent loss, it's horrifying. It's a fucking horror show. And so I think it's important that we can talk about that with our loved ones, and that, some fucking woo-woo dude does a podcast and talks about that horror. And look, it's not lost on me that there's other things that you can lose that are significantly, probably more horrifying. But we need to honor, or I need to honor, I want to honor all things, you know, to the best of my ability, with as much time and capacity as I have. I want to honor this experience of life, and yeah, the horror of loss. The horror of loss. I want to honor that horror. If I'm gonna let you in, baby, if I'm gonna let you in, baby, are you gonna treat me nice, nice, nice? Are you gonna treat me nice? Are you gonna treat me nice, nice, nice? Are you gonna treat me nice? If I'ma give you hope, baby, if I'ma give you trust, lady, are you gonna treat me nice, nice, nice? Are you gonna treat me nice? Are you gonna treat me nice, nice, nice? Are you gonna treat me nice? If I'ma show you times, if I'ma show you good, good times, if I'ma give you light, if I'ma gonna shine my bright, bright light, are you gonna treat me nice, nice, nice? Are you gonna treat me nice? Are you gonna treat me nice, nice, nice? Yeah, you're gonna treat me nice. 'Cause I'ma treat you nice, 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 nice. I'ma treat you nice, 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 nice. Yeah, I'ma treat you nice, 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 nice. I'ma treat you nice. I'ma treat you nice. Yeah. I'ma treat you nice. Yeah. Have a beautiful day, folks. Please share this with your friends if you like it.